Ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker needs little introduction. I'm proud to call him a friend and a mentor. He is a man who's been in the political trenches for over 20 years and who now leads the DA with distinction through one of the greatest crises of our time. Delegates, I present to you our DA leader, John Steenhuisen. Over to you, John.
Good morning, Andrew, and good morning, delegates. It's really great to be with you today as you make history in South Africa, the first political party to be having a digital Congress. And I couldn't think of a better time to be with you, and I couldn't think of a better way to start than by thanking Naba for that excellent speech. It really was a superb call to arms about what South Africa needs and why South Africa needs the Democratic Alliance. Now, I knew yesterday was Naba's birthday, but he got his birthday present, the day before with that incredible court victory in Nelson Mandela Bay that's going to start again to move the needle in the right direction. So Naba, I hope you were happy with your early birthday present that you were given. To the delegates, public representatives, activists, and friends, it really gives me great pleasure to address you in this way as fellow Democrats, because that is who and what we are as we work in this great party. We are Democrats not only in name, but in our actions too. Whether it's the way we conduct ourselves in government or the way in which we contest elections, we wear our democratic colors with absolute pride. The DA does not get caught up in destructive factional battles as we see our opponents tearing each other to pieces over the course of this weekend. The DA is not in it for patronage and wealth, as we've seen so many of our opponents abuse a health crisis for patronage and wealth. And the DA is free from this rotting stench of corruption that is settled on every single ANC-run province, municipality, and government department. The DA has not, and we will never lose sight of why we do what we do, which is to offer hope, dignity, and opportunity to South Africans through governments of the people, by the people, and most importantly, for the people. We are Democrats in every sense of the word, and we should be proud and rejoice in this. And I know going into this Provincial Congress that our democratic spirit is going to prevail. I know that this Congress has been and will continue to be conducted with respect and decorum. No throwing of chairs, no intimidation of opponents, no brown envelopes paid for by Gavin Watson to secure an outcome. Just as I know that the other DA provincial congresses, as well as our federal congress later this year, is going to play by the same rules. And when these elective processes are concluded, we will abide by the democratic outcome and, most importantly, get straight back to work doing what we always do best, improving the lives of South Africans through freedom, through fairness, and through opportunity. On that note, I'd like to congratulate Naba Banga, my good friend, and Andrew Whitfield, my good friend and colleague, on being elected unopposed as provincial leader and chairperson, respectively. This gives the DA much needed stability here in the Eastern Cape and makes sure that we don't lose our focus. I know that each of you on this Congress today understand the importance of the DA's task. Our project has never been more urgent, Democrats. South Africa is facing its biggest challenge in its 26 years of democracy. And I'm not talking about the battle to contain the coronavirus, because I know we will overcome this. I'm talking about the battle to save our country from a slide into economic ruin. The battle to save millions of our citizens from desperate poverty and despair. Because, Democrats, unless there is an intervention to dramatically change our course, that bleak outcome is going to be South Africa's future. Fellow Democrats, we are that intervention. You are that intervention. And I don't mean to put unnecessary pressure on you, but whether our country sinks or swims depends entirely on whether the DA's project fails or succeeds. There is simply no other plan. And we have to succeed in building a new majority in South Africa. We've set out our values and our plans for reform in such a way that this becomes a rallying point for both voters as well as potential coalition partners. Now, we all know what it will take to turn our country around and avert disaster. We know it's going to take a capable state, which can only be achieved by appointing people on merit rather than their allegiance to political factions. We know it's going to take honest, a hardworking government that has zero tolerance for corruption and greed and doesn't just say this for effect, as we saw the president do in the National Assembly this week. It's going to take an unwavering commitment to the rule of law, one set of rules that applies to everybody and swift consequences for those who break these rules. It's going to take the power of a market economy because only the entrepreneurial spirit and the willingness to take risks can create the millions of jobs which we need to get South Africans back to work in this country. It's going to take a government that knows when to get out of the way and let those who understand how to grow an economy and a business and create jobs do their thing. And it's going to take a commitment to a lean and efficient state. No more bloated civil service and top-heavy state-owned enterprises. And it's going to take a truly 21st century economy. And that means walking away once and for all from the failed ideologies and doomed economic projects of the 20th century. We know all of this, colleagues, because we speak about it all the time, to the point where it seems so clear and obvious to all of us. But knowing this is not enough. Believing in our vision for South Africa is not enough. Our job is to make others believe in the vision of this party and our vision for the future of this country and our vision for the future of our people. That is our project. And the next big step in this project is only a year away, when South Africans go to the polls to elect local governments. How we use the next 12 or so months to deliver our message to voters will have a profound impact on the future of our country. But we're not the only ones who are going to be busy. Already we're seeing the same old pattern that emerges ahead of every election. A small party crops up with a fancy promise, which they have no way of backing up with any proof or any track record. And invariably they involve some messianic individual who they then say is going to lead South Africa to the promised land. And such is the aspect and appeal of the shiny and new that these small parties inevitably end up taking away some votes from the strongest opposition party, the DA. Every time a voter does it, the net result is strengthening the hand of Ace Magashule, of Didi Mabuza, and all those corrupt hyenas in the ANC. And we've been through this scenario so many times. As soon as the elections are over, voters who tested the waters and wasted their votes in one of these new startups realize that they've got zero bang for their buck from a one-man party with a regional footprint, and inevitably they turn to the DA for salvation. But by then the damage is done for the next 5 years. The momentum is halted, and all they've done is strengthen the ANC. There's only one way to unseat the ANC nationally, and that's by weakening them in every consecutive election, by pushing them below 50% wherever possible, and relegating them to the opposition benches in municipal, metro, and provincial governments. We need voters to understand this. We need people to understand that if they want their municipality to be freed from the control of the corrupt ANC, then they have to vote that ANC out by replacing it with the only party that can actually win against the ANC, and that is our party. And we must make the case that our only hope to end corruption and bring change is for voters to unite behind the strongest opposition party, rather than splitting the vote. And especially if that split vote goes to some breakaway from the DA with individuals who are simply carrying DA ideologies and plans onto another platform. These parties cannot effect change because they are too small. They cannot defeat the ANC because they are too small. All they do is end up setting South Africa back in the fight against a corrupt government. We have to make this point to people. We have to make them understand that falling for grand promises of new parties with no experience, no structures, no track record always leads to buyer's remorse. We've seen it. These personality parties, COPE, Agang, Good, they come and they go, and democracy and the fight against the totalitarian plans of the ANC for this country is strengthened. Anyone can make promises, but only one party can hold up its track record and say, judge us by that. And nowhere, colleagues, is it more clearly demonstrated for anyone to see than right here in the Eastern Cape's biggest metro, Nelson Mandela Bay. What played out in Nelson Mandela Bay over the past 4 years is the perfect case study for demonstrating the difference between South Africa's only two parties of government. After 2 decades of ANC looting and mismanagement, the people of Nelson Mandela Bay got to experience 2 golden years of DA-led government before what was effectively a coup by the coalition of corruption that gave them 2 more years under the ANC, the EFF, and the UDN. And the difference between these governments could not be any starker. Now, 2 years is not a lot when up against the enormous challenge of fixing 20 years of ANC government. But the list of achievements of that DA-led coalition managed to rack up in that short time from 2016 to 2018 is remarkable. And I want to thank today on this platform former Mayor Athol Trollip for the crucial role he played in turning Nelson Mandela Bay around, along with the excellent team of Democrats, many of whom are with us today, for their work. That administration inherited a metro deep in the red, and within just a year, our team in Nelson Mandela Bay had secured a 2 billion rand surplus and a AAA credit rating. That kind of turnaround doesn't just happen. It doesn't just happen. It takes an incredible effort. But Nelson Mandela Bay didn't just gain financial stability. It also saw a host of delivery milestones that were frankly inconceivable under the ANC. For the first time, the city had a metro police service. It finally got an ITPS bus service. It got shot spotter technology to help curb and solve gun crime. The DA-led administration immediately halted over 600 million rands worth of corrupt contracts. It got rid of 10,000 bucket toilets. It achieved the highest urban settlement development grant spending in the country. The difference was like day and night. But there was a problem. The coalition held the most slender majority, and this made it a sitting duck. If the looters wanted back in, all they had to do was pay off one council member. And we all know what happened at that shameful council meeting that will live on in infamy, where the coup took place and the coalition of corruption installed themselves at the feeding trough once more. And since then, it's been downhill for Nelson Mandela Bay, as the corrupt administration of Mayor Babani opened all the taps that the DA government had so effectively shut. And where there's corruption, the violence is never far behind. At least 18 people involved in SMMEs doing business with the metro have already been slain in politically linked killings. The shot spotter technology, which had already started to reduce gang shootings, has now been ceased in Nelson Mandela Bay's northern areas. Similarly, the brand new IPTS bus system has collapsed, and I know this because I visited it personally with Naba and the team there. And there's been a huge deterioration of basic services across the city thanks to the chronic underspending of budgets. And I know that because I visited it with our councillors there, water leaks that don't get repaired for months on end. Millions of rands worth of water, flowing, clean drinking water, flowing down the streets of Nelson Mandela Bay in the middle of one of the most devastating droughts. Every single improvement made under our DA-led coalition has been completely undone over the past 2 years. And now Nelson Mandela Bay finds itself far worse off than it ever was before. You could not ask for a clearer distinction between these two fundamentally different governments and their ability to deliver to the only people who really matter, and those are the residents. But perhaps there's an even better example of how you get the government you vote for. And you can find that by just traveling a little bit down the road from Nelson Mandela Bay in Kucha. The Kucha municipality flies largely under the radar thanks to the constant turmoil in Nelson Mandela Bay. But under our DA leadership there, it has been going from strength to strength. It is an island of excellence in a sea of ANC misrule in the Eastern Cape. Now, Kucha was a mess when the DA took over. As an example, just consider that just 4% of the municipality's fleet of vehicles were in good working order in 2016. Less than 4 years later, 90% of these vehicles are now in daily use. Other milestones in Kucha include 2 brand new wastewater treatment works, boreholes to augment drought-affected water supply, and the world's first plastic-infused asphalt road to help combat plastic pollution. And I was really excited to be there when it was officially opened and to see the huge satisfaction on the face of Vicky Knutzer and the mayor and the speaker and the leadership team there as they once again showed the rest of South Africa the art of what is possible when you put your mind behind achieving something. Now, the municipality operates on an entirely different level to the rest of the Eastern Cape, whether you're looking at financial management, service delivery, or simply the cleanliness of the towns. Kucha has just passed its first R1 billion budget. And because it has a DA government under the Mayor Horatio, you can be absolutely assured that all of that money is going to be spent where it should. Things work in Kucha. They work. And that, colleagues, is the DA difference. That is what we can hold up as proof when all other people can offer is pictures of themselves on T-shirts and self-promotion. We go in with reality, with a track record, and not the fantasy that these one-hit wonders try to offer South Africa. And importantly, Kucha has given us a foothold here in the Eastern Cape, a province that is crying out for change, probably more than any other province in the entire country. It's already known as South Africa's corruption capital, and the Eastern Cape cemented that position during this COVID crisis by becoming an epicenter of COVID corruption too. Global audiences had to watch in horror as a terrible state of the province's hospitals was laid bare, complete with scurrying rats and blood-drenched corridor floors. As if that wasn't bad enough, the Eastern Cape had to endure the absolute embarrassment of the scooter ambulance fiasco. All this while cadres who should be looking after the people were looting the province through corrupt PPE contracts. And it always ends up like this. People who can take advantage of the funeral of Nelson Mandela can never be trusted with spending money properly. And as always, the people, and particularly the poorest in the province, had to pay the heaviest price of it. Because corruption is not, as Jacob Zuma said a few months ago, a victimless crime. The poor are the real victims of a failed, corrupt government. Now, Democrats, we can change this. And that's the good news. We can bring hope to the Eastern Cape. And we're going to do this by extending our footprint in this province, ward by ward, town by town, by taking what we have in Kucha, what we've had in Nelson Mandela Bay, and replicating it in town after town, municipality after municipality. And when we win Nelson Mandela Bay back next year, it will be with a strong enough majority to ensure that bribes will be powerless in trying to topple it. But we won't stop there. We've got to take the message far beyond Nelson Mandela Bay and Kucha. And even where we won't necessarily win control of municipalities, we're going to make inroads by taking wards off the ANC. And we're going to establish a DA presence across every community in the Eastern Cape. That's how we'll spread the word and sell the message of hope the evangelism of the DA difference to the people of the Eastern Cape and throughout the rest of the country. We're under pressure. We've almost 60 million people counting on us and our party to succeed. Whether they'll admit it or not, for South Africa to work, the DA has to work. There is no other plan. Now that's a lot of responsibility to bear, but I want you to shoulder this responsibility with pride. Be proud of what we've already achieved and be proud of who we are. We are Democrats, and that's just what our country needs right now. The road ahead is not going to be easy, colleagues. It's going to be a long road to building that new majority, to bring hope and change to the people, not only of the Eastern Cape, but of South Africa. There are going to be obstacles in our way we're going to have to climb over. There are going to be people who fall by the wayside. We must stay determinedly united and focused on achieving our goal. That's how we're going to change South Africa. That's how we're going to bring hope for the people who so desperately need us. Thank you very much. I wish you well for the Congress. I wish your leadership well, and I'm looking forward to working with all of you as we set about changing this country, getting South Africans back to work, and getting South Africa back to work. Thank you, Democrats. Let's get out there. Let's do it. Let's make the change. Let's be the change, and let's show the change. Halala DA, halala.